Brought a friend today. Oh, you can't see him. Speaking of that, the life-size one was a little bit creepy when Kyle took me over there and showed me that. It's not really life-size, though. It's actually about a foot shorter, I think. All right, so I think the players are really excited for this matchup. Records don't matter whenever you play these games. And, crazy game a year ago that I got to watch. And you can see the emotions of the players, so we got to be very careful not to make mistakes by letting our emotions get too high. So, still a lot of work to do this week for the game, but hopefully, the chance of having a head start, will help us.
Starts off, Perry.
Lane, any change in your COVID numbers? They were good on Monday.
Knock on wood, we're still perfect. So, I guess it sounds like they still have a couple guys out from last week. So, hopefully, we continue to do a great job with that.
You have to fill up with gas to get that bobblehead?
No, I don't. I'm assuming that I didn't know this, but from what you said, I'm assuming that you can get one if you fill up with gas somewhere. So, no, I guess they actually gave me one for free. I got a deal on it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Nick.
I've come a long ways in this world that you get a bobblehead of me if you fill up with gas. So I feel like I've made it. I feel like I've made it now, Parrish. Keep working. One day they'll make a bobblehead of you. You're on mute.
Lane, just big picture with preparing for games during COVID this season. How difficult is it to prepare for teams when you don't know which players are going to be available? Does that change your preparation at all or not?
Well, you don't know, so there's not really any way to prepare that someone's not going to be there. I guess Mike said, I think a couple of the outside backer DNs weren't playing that didn't play last week, so I guess he already said that. So I guess we know that, but otherwise you can't really predict who's going to not be there.
Other questions for Coach? We'll go back to Parrish.
Hey, Lane, State's obviously got some scholarship number issues, and they have some opt-outs and things like that. You mentioned the emotions of this series. I mean, as a coach, can you use that to your advantage? I mean, is that something that can help you rally your players, get them to play hard? I mean, obviously, they played close at Georgia.
Yeah, I think you got to be careful, buying into the numbers, I think maybe Georgia, maybe thought it was going to be an easier game than it was just because they'd heard the numbers of guys out and how they had played lately. And you still only need so many to play, so even if your numbers are down, if you're not out significant players, sometimes it's not that big a deal. So, and maybe that's why he said the guys were out already, just to kind of lay low in the weeds and make us feel good. But you got to be careful with that. Always, whenever, you think you're supposed to win, a lot of times you play down.
Neil, go ahead.
Lane, you referenced this a few times, but having that, I guess, couple of years at USC when you guys were down scholarship numbers and there was all that kind of tumult with that, has that sort of helped you navigate this weird year this year, where it's first year in a program and you've got all the pandemic stuff and stuff's kind of happening that doesn't typically happen in a normal season?
I just think a little bit maybe in how you practice and, with less numbers when guys were down and stuff and your practice format, but still nothing that you wish for, but I guess I've had a little practice at it.
And I guess you saw the news about Coach Saban this morning. You coached in some of those games as a coordinator. What will an Iron Bowl without Nick Saban on the sideline feel like and look like, in your opinion?
I just think it'd be really strange. I think, anytime the head coach is out, it's one thing, But, you know, when the head coach runs the program like he does, you know, in all facets and has been there so long, I think that will be strange, especially for the players, you know. Now, it's not as big a blow as some places because he's not a play caller. You know, if you lose a head coach that's a play caller, you know, that's a gigantic blow. So he doesn't call the defense, but I think it'll be very strange for everyone watching, but especially for the guys playing.
Have you guys had to, I guess, game plan a scenario at the beginning of the year where something were to happen where you couldn't coach because of that? How you would kind of adjust?
Yeah, I mean, I brought up to the league because we were in that discussion, you know, hey, you know, could you still, you know, do like the Hugh Freeze, get a separate press box or something, you know, without the hospital bed, and coach the game so that you could still communicate. You know, and I never got an answer back from that. You know, they said that's a good question, but I don't think we ever got an answer on that. So, you know, like in his situation, I don't know if they're gonna let him do that. Actually, the first time he got it, I actually texted him that day saying, you know, check into that so that you could still, you know, you could still coach, because they never gave us an answer. So I don't know what they're gonna do there.
Go back to Nick.
Going off of that, just based off of guys you've talked to in the program and in the state, can you get a vibe of how this rivalry compares to the Iron Bowl? Have you gotten that yet, or is that something you kind of have to experience your first time at it?
Not necessarily. You know, we did, you know, have what I call power hour, where last night we got on the phone with a lot of kids, you know, because we're a little bit ahead of schedule with, you know, having 2 weeks to prepare, and they certainly all knew the game was happening, that's for sure, you know, and it sounded like a lot of them going to the game too, even though, you know, we can't talk to them and stuff.